All right, here we go. Today we have journalist George Chidi, who writes for the Atlanta Objective and also has a show on Fox 5 in Atlanta called The Next Atlanta, which has been nominated for an Emmy. George, today you're going to talk about the Young Thug and YSL RICO case, a case you've actually been following for the past year. Welcome to Vlad TV.
Happy to be here. Good to talk about this.
Okay, and you're really a veteran investigative journalist. You got your MBA from Georgia Tech, and you also have a journalism degree from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst.
Correct. It's funny, you call me an investigative journalist. I believe that there's just journalism. Like, if you're a journalist, you're investigating. If you're not investigating, what are you doing?
There you go. Okay, and you actually started following the story about a year ago. So, I went through the paperwork, which is the 88-page indictment, very closely. And that really set up a whole timeline in terms of everything that's happening. And I just want to note that at this point, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. These are just charges. So until there's either plea deals or there's court cases, we don't really know what's going to happen yet.
I agree. These are allegations. Like, the police and the district attorney are saying they've got evidence X, Y, and Z. We haven't actually seen it yet.
Correct. Okay, so I want to start in the very beginning. So based on the paperwork, they're saying that Young Thug is a founder of Young Slime Life. And they say it's, as well as a record label and a crew, the indictment actually says that it's a street gang that's affiliated with the Bloods that started in 2012.
That's correct. At least that's what the police are saying. And I think that a huge part of this case is going to be distinguishing what is YSL, the music label, from YSL, the street gang. There's plenty of evidence to suggest that the street gang is real, that it has existed, that it may have existed to some degree before any of this musical stuff was going on, or in parallel to it. That it's an outgrowth of gang activity from South Atlanta that predated all of this stuff. Predated Young Thug, I might add. But, plainly, there's a company called, Young Stoner Life that's incorporated in Georgia. And there's nothing illegal about being a musician in Georgia with a music label. It's going to be an interesting trial, showing the separation.
Okay. And, according to the paperwork, they're saying in 2013, that's when they first started investigating?
So my strong suspicion is that they've been investigating the things that they are now associating with YSL from far before that, even. They've been looking at Young Thug probably since 2010, when he was a juvenile. Not necessarily in the context of YSL as a street gang, but in terms of Young Thug as somebody we might have to arrest in a serious way sometime.
Okay. And at what point did the wiretaps start and so forth?
So that's interesting. So the indictment alleges that Jeffrey Williams, Young Thug, rented a car that was used in a drive-by that killed a gang leader, Donovan Thomas. They called him Peanut. He was an Inglewood Blood gang member, OG guy. And it set off this war between YSL and YFN. A couple of weeks after that hit, at least according to the indictment, Jeffrey Williams spoke to a fellow who was had to be in jail, who was a leading member of Sex Money Murder, which is a street gang that's based out of New York. He was apparently the Georgia head of this gang. The only way Young Thug could have been talking to him was if that guy was in jail, which means they were tapping a phone, or they were tapping a room where he went down there himself. It's not clear. I strongly suspect it was a phone call. That implies that they were either following Young Thug around and knew to tap Young Thug's phone, or they were tapping this other guy's phone in jail. And there's an outtake from that phone tap where Thug is basically talking about sometimes sacrifices have to be made. We don't know the full context for that conversation. We don't know even if that phone was tapped or whether or not that's an inside informant who's saying that. It looks like a tap, but I can't tell. A couple of days later, thugs on social media talking about how people who testify in court should be killed. And the implication is Donovan Thomas was killed because he was some sort of government informant.
Okay, was that established that he was an informant?
No. Like, that's something that we're looking for in the trial. That's the first time I've ever heard that. It explains a hell of a lot, but it's the first time anybody had heard that outside of a courtroom.
Okay. And this is all happening in 2015.
That's all 2015.
Right. And I looked all this up. So they're saying that Young Thug allegedly rented a silver Infiniti Q50 sedan. And a murder happened in connection with that car, allegedly.
That's what they're saying.
5 men are charged with the murder in connection with Donovan Nut Thomas. One of them is Diamante Kendrick, identified as Yak Gotti.
I didn't know his real name before this indictment came out. I couldn't find it anywhere. It's fascinating.
Right. Yak Gotti's a rapper, and his story kind of ties into YFN Lucci later on, which we're going to get to. But basically, they're saying the indictment claims that after the killing of Mr. Thomas, the rival gang leader, Mr. Williams, aka Young Thug, appeared in a video which he stated to some people, "Get killed, bro," from me and YSL. And then, like you said, there was a video that was released on social media. He said, so N-words lie to their mama, lie to their kids, lie to their brothers and sisters, then get right into the courtroom and tell the God's honest truth. Don't get it. Y'all N-words need to get fucking killed, bro, from me and YSL. And the feds are saying, the state police are saying this is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot here. Like this indictment is 180 something. It's not 180 counts, but there are 180 pieces of evidence that they suggest that they are going to present at trial in the indictment. There's a lot here. There's a lot here that isn't in this indictment that I was expecting there to be. Particularly certain lyrics from some songs. I don't think we are privy to all of the evidence that's going to be introduced in trial. And more to the point, I think some of this stuff is likely to get thrown out. It depends.